Dry eye and dry eye disease is exactly what it sounds like. The eyes tend to get very dry, irritated, gritty, sandy, like there's a foreign body in the eye. Uh, there are many, 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 many things that cause it, but in essence, it's either a lack of tears and not making enough tear volume, or a poor quality tears. And usually dry eye is a combination of both of those things. Not enough tears, and the tears that we make are unhealthy and tend to evaporate very quickly. There are a whole bunch of causes. Usually it's very multifactorial, and a lot of things contribute, everything from aging and getting older and hormonal changes as we get older. But we're also seeing it very commonly in younger kids, in the younger generation, people who are spending hours and hours and hours a day on their computers. And that is something that tends to affect all of us because more and more of our life is on digital screens.
Well, when your eyes are constantly uncomfortable, there's pretty much no part of your life that is untouched by that, right? When you think of dry eye, to people who don't have a serious version of it, it sounds really trivial, sounds really transient, but when it goes on, that's a big deal. That's going to affect your productivity at work. It will be a lot harder to concentrate when your eyes hurt. It's going to affect things like driving, reading, any hobbies, being outdoors in general, people struggle with a lot.
The most important thing, and the reason why we're here today, is to raise awareness and to counsel people. Anybody who has any of these symptoms that we're discussing very well may have dry eyes or dry eye disease, and they should, most importantly, seek out the attention of an eye doctor locally and sort of see an eye doctor and get diagnosed and have the doctor recommend a sort of customized treatment plan for that person. We have so many ways to treat this. Generally, though, when symptoms are mild and early on, patients will often just try to self-diagnose and self-treat, and usually that's where the over-the-counter medications come into play, like artificial tears, lifestyle modifications of blinking more often on the computer, taking breaks from the computer, closing the eyes, putting in the lubricating drops. They're, avoiding adverse environments like blowing air and low humidity environments, maybe turning on humidifiers. There are lots and lots and lots and lots of little things that we can do on a day-to-day basis to minimize the impact of dry eyes. But we encourage everybody to see an eye doctor, even if your vision is perfect. That's usually the thing that drives people to see eye doctors, a problem with their vision. But this is a really good reason to see an eye doctor too, because these conditions of dry eyes are much easier to treat in the early stages, whereas when they progress over time and get worse, they can have much greater impact on the health of the eye, the visual quality of the eye, and they're still treatable, but it's just usually harder to treat, takes longer to treat, and usually involves multiple treatments to get it under control at those later stages. So if any of this rings any bells for anybody out there listening or watching, please see an eye doctor as quickly as possible.
Well, I think that people have a threshold. So if it's not interfering with my life, I'm not going to do something about it. It's just a nuisance, right? And then there comes a point for some of us where it actually is cascading through our lives and it's a really big deal. And the message we want to get out there is take steps before it gets to that point because it's harder to deal with when it gets there. The recent Bausch and Lomb survey highlighted some really important aspects of this. They showed that, well, there's all these people that have some dry eye symptoms. Relatively few of them are seeing an eye doctor when it's still in those early stages. And that's where we're wanting people to take some steps early on so they can avoid getting to that place where it's really affecting them.
Well, Bausch and Lomb has a great website called knowyourdryeye.com, which is filled with important information.